I'd like to call this council meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Mayor Yanish.
Here.
Councilmember Reese.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Amon. Johnson.
Here.
Dockin.
Here.
Baggerly.
Here.
DeBleek.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Would you all please stand while we say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda? I have a couple additions under miscellany. First one would be the parking lot closure request, and the second would be to the agenda mayoral appointments. There's also one that I would like to mention is Dan Haldane under the consented items. Added as mayoral appointment to the Community Education and Recreation Joint Powers Board. It's only fair to tell you that Dan Haldane is an employee of Central Tire and Auto, which my wife and I own, and I just want to be upfront and tell you about that. Also, tonight is a very special night. It's Mick Schmidt's. At this point, the Centerpoint Energy Community Partnership grant presentation by Shelley Hood. Will you step up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Shelley Hood. I'm with Centerpoint Energy. Tonight I'm here to present a community partnership grant which offers the opportunity for Centerpoint Energy to partner with local fire and police departments. Through the grant program, we're able to help cities leverage local funds to purchase the needed safety equipment or support safety projects that are important to your community. So today, I am here to present a community partnership grant to the city of Willmar for $2,500 that will be used to purchase photo ionization detectors for the hazmat team. So I
Thank you very much.
Accept this.
To give it to me.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. What do we need a
We typically pass a resolution accepting the donation, and then we'll send a letter of thanks to Centerpoint.
okay?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the donation of $2,500 from the Centerpoint Energy and send out a letter of thank you. Open for discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Baggerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries. Thank you again, Shelley. At this time, we'll request, we've had a request to address the council from the Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Warner?
Mayor Yanish, members of the City Council, staff, I'm Ken Warner, President of the Willmar Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce, and I really want to thank you for the opportunity to address the council tonight about an issue that we would just like some clarification on that we've been working on for the last couple of months, and really to talk about excuse me, and how we got to the point of requesting to come in front of the mayor and council tonight is that earlier this year, a concerned citizen came forward and asked the council questions about whether or not we had hit the magic number to turn off the local option sales tax, but we're seeking clarification with that. The preceding couple meetings, the council received information from city staff Basically decided that we feel like we're doing the right thing and let's move on. In those conversations, and as that information hit the news, our office started receiving phone calls from different business people saying, what's going on? We thought this tax was supposed to sunset once we hit a certain threshold. And so we tried to get clarification on that issue. I had asked Representative Vogel to have somebody at the legislature, with the legislative staff, check and see if we're doing things correctly. They came back with a little different opinion, saying, well, we're not quite sure if the city is following this the way they should. We then had a meeting with the mayor, voiced our concerns, and saying we really need to get some clarity to this, because we, as a Chamber of Commerce, of course, feel this is a great tool, and it's done some great things in our community, but are we continuing to do things right? Are we collecting it too long? We're not sure. So then there was a series of emails that went back and forth and around, and then I believe it was Senator Gimsey's office then checked from the Senate side of the aisle, saying, is the language correct? Is this supposed to sunset? Is it supposed to continue? What's supposed to happen? And the ruling that came from there was everything's fine. They should be able to collect the tax. In our opinion, it goes to December 31st, 2012. Then it kind of just went away from the agenda from there. The calls continued to come in our office. We continued to talk about it at our Public Policy Committee meetings about it. We're not really sure what the voters' intent was when they went in and voted on this, and we think that some of the confusion, and maybe it's on our end, maybe it's on the voters' end, maybe it's on everybody's end, is the last time we did the local option sales tax, we did hit the dollar goal first. We turned the tax off early. We patted ourselves on the back because we did so. We even had a little chuckle along the way because the state of Minnesota had never turned it off before because nobody had ever sunsetted their tax early. So we were very proud of that fact. The library is paid for. We continued to collect a little bit more because they didn't know how to turn it off, and so a fund was set up for the library for future use. Done deal. And then a couple years later, we come back with the 5 projects. We voted on it, and the question was stated the way it was. And there's confusion out there from our standpoint on where the tax sits today, on the amount of revenue that's been collected, the additional revenue that's going to come in over the $8 million, where those monies are allocated, and so on. So what we did is we sent out a very unscientific survey out to our chamber membership, and we asked them, we gave them the background of what was on the ballot, and I'll give you a copy of this. We showed them the actual ballot question, and we asked them 3 questions. My understanding was that the tax would sunset after 7 years. My understanding was that the tax would sunset after the $8 million was raised. My understanding is that the tax would sunset based on whichever event happened first, $8 million or 7 years, and we sent the survey out. So what I'll do now is I'd like to turn it over to Dave Baker. Dave Baker is the chair of our Public Policy Committee. He's also a local business owner. We'll talk about the results of the survey and kind of where we'd like to have a conversation with the council about this.
Perfect.
So with your permission, I'll hand these out.
Thank you, Ken.
Council, I don't like to normally stand next to Ken Warner, so stay in the back. As Ken is handing out the question, it was a question that we wanted to ask our members, and again, we represent the business voice in the county, we think. 25% of them, roughly, said, you know, we thought it would end after 8 million. 25 or 20, I think it says 26% said we thought it would end after 7 years, and roughly half, or 48%, said we thought it would end whatever happened first. And we've wrestled with this thing a little bit with the public policy discussions that we have once a month. And I think that, again, the general consensus of our group is this is a great tool. This is a tool that not a lot of cities take advantage of, but I think it's a tool that Willmar has learned over the last 2 projects. Gosh, it has worked well. We are a better city today because of it. We've got a beautiful library. We've got a better bike system and a civic center connection that we're all proud of, and so on and so forth. I think the question to the council is simply this, that with with the budgets being extremely tight and LGA a big question mark today, what we are hoping from the business community is that we don't maybe ruin this tool, to use it in the future to say, you know what, we can sort of put it behind in the desk and let it kind of roll till the end of 2012, which I believe is the end of the 7 years. But that we're going to do what I think a lot of government units are not doing today, and it's probably stepping up doing the right thing to say, you know what, this is time to end it. I think we can do it now. We've raised over $10 million. We've exceeded the $8 million, and it's maybe a good thing to start sunsetting, because it's still going to take another 3 months to sunset at this point if you decide sometime soon to say it's time to wrap this thing up. You know, another $500,000 might come into the coffers for these funds that will be used very well for our community. I know that the city or the Chamber of Commerce will very likely support another local option sales tax if it's used for good purposes, good projects, and if we've got a council we believe that will use it as they say they will use it. And I think 6 years ago when the question was posed, I know when I voted for it, as I live in Willmar, I voted for kind of whatever came first. And I'm happy that revenues are better than we thought. I'm happy that the projects are completed. So it isn't necessarily obviously a legal question. You guys can really do whatever you want to do, but I'm asking, and I think the chamber is asking, to do what something is, you know, just to kind of ask the question, is this the right thing to do for the citizens? If we ever want to use this tool again, it'll sure be a whole lot easier to get through the next time when you've sunsetted it twice in a row versus letting it go on. And if we raise 12 or 13 or 14 million dollars for another year, I think voters might be saying, wait a minute here, I might not want to do this again. So we're here just to sort of ask the question, start the discussion, and we're here to maybe answer or ask any questions that you guys might have of us or anything else. So I think that really kind of just, we lay it out there. Again, the survey was what it was. It was just very unscientific, like Ken said. But we wanted to have the discussion and ask the council to seriously consider doing what we feel is the right thing to do and say, you know, I think we should end it at the end of 2011. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, David. Is there anyone else from the chamber that would like to speak? Go ahead, I'm sorry. Why don't you come up to the podium?
I have no questions for him. I'd like to speak.
Sure, go ahead. State your name and address.
My name is Lauren Coral. My address is New London. I am not a resident of the city of Willmar, but I am the president of Relco, a business in the industrial park in Willmar. Relco is an equipment manufacturer. We employ about 80 people, which is about 20% down from our high in 2008. I did not vote on this issue when it came up to the ballot, I believe in 2004. As I say, I'm not a resident of the city. So when the issue was raised to me, I had to kind of familiarize myself with it because I don't recall what was said about it in the paper at the time. So I read the ballot question, and to me it did indicate that we had an $8 million target, and we anticipated it to be complete in 7 years, and there were 4 specific projects listed. I also, went to the website of the city of Willmar. I actually Googled a local option sales tax for Willmar, and the city site came up, and I looked on there, and sure enough, there also, it indicates that we've got 4 specific projects, and we had $8 million, and that's how the money was going to be used. It is my understanding today that we have accomplished that goal. We've surpassed the $8 million, and the funding for the 4 projects is secure. and I believe the tax should now terminate. There has been, some people that would chastise the city of Willmar for this, but I think this is partly due to the excellent management of the funds that were received. It's my understanding that we did not bond for those projects, so there was no interest payments. This is an example of excellent city management, and the council and administrative staff should be commended for it. I understand that the city attorney has also been consulted and has expressed a legal opinion that the city is not violating the law. It was drawn up with St. Paul, in St. Paul, but I caution us that our contract or our obligation is not to the law in St. Paul. That was merely the vehicle by which we were to accomplish our goals set out to the citizens of the city of Willmar. It has also been said that we can put the money to good use, but we need to remember that the money that where it came from, the citizens that produced the money could put it to good use also. The money probably wouldn't end up in a mattress or buried in a can in the backyard. It would be spent. It would be used. To collect more than is needed for the 4 projects, I believe, is wrong. I believe if the City Council looks at the ballot question and consults with your constituents, I think you'll find that you have excellent reason to sunset the tax early. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the chamber or comments? At this time, I'll turn it over to the council. Do you have questions or concerns that you might want to talk to members of the chamber?
Mr. Mayor, can I speak to this?
You sure may, yeah.
Well, I appreciate all the kind comments about management and administration, but to me, it's a very simple matter. Clearly, the question is, should we end the sales tax now? You know, that question actually has been asked and answered numerous times in the last few months. And I heard a comment about, well, what was the voters' intent when they voted on this question? But I think a better question is, what was the City Council's intent when they posed the question? And the intent of the City Council was to construct the 4 projects that I've mentioned. And contrary to what's been stated, we have not completed those projects. We are not raking in cash that we're stuffing in the coffers at the city office building, waiting for another project to come along. We've provided copies of our capital improvement expenditure summary to, I don't know if Ken has gotten this or not, but I know that the council has. And this is the city's 5-year capital improvement program. Now, when we posed the question back in 2004, and I envy people who can remember that far back what they were thinking when they voted on an issue, but when we posed that question in 2004, we were basing our estimated costs on numbers we had received from local architectural firms, in-house estimates of what a project might cost. And as we know, as we've gone through the process over the years, we weren't very accurate in our projections. The classic example is the Civic Center project. I think in the question, the estimated cost of the connection was $300,000. And I think at that time people envisioned the corridor between the 2 buildings. Very simple construction project. By the time we got to actually bidding the project, we had hired an architect and designed a much more comprehensive I hesitate to use the word extravagant, but it's a very nice connection, and it's resulted in a much better use of the facility. The final cost was in the neighborhood of $1 million. We pegged the numbers on the hiking and biking trails. Those have exceeded our estimates. We have not spent a nickel on the 60-acre tract of land north of Willmar, where we were proposing to develop some park and recreational areas out there. And we still don't know the outcome of that. We won't know the outcome of that until MnDOT's Highway 71 corridor study is completed. Bottom line there is we always have the option of acquiring that property for $1. I'll provide the $1 if we come up short in these projects. Now the balance of the money and the lion's share of our program, our efforts, our planning, and all the work that we're doing is out in the industrial park area. And that's, when we talk about our future, that's what we should be thinking of, is what's happening in our industrial park. Now I know Relco and a lot of other manufacturers and industries wouldn't be in Willmar if we hadn't built the initial industrial park. And we did that with a grant from the federal government. We were able to go in and install all of the infrastructure and construct the streets. We laid the foundation for the growth of that park, for the attraction of manufacturing and industry, for the creation of job opportunities. And we filled it up. And that's what we're trying to envision as we proceed with the development of the new industrial park. It's a 3-phase program. Most of the activity that we're talking about using local option sales tax money for is in phase 1. And we're building roads, we're putting in the infrastructure, and we're laying the foundation for the future of our community. We want to be able to use that as a basis for attracting more industry and manufacturing to our community. We're in a difficult economic time right now, and to me, the best way to grow ourselves out of this recession is to create jobs. Now, the expenditure of these local option sales tax dollars in 2012 is not going to produce instant results. It may be 5, 10, 15 years or longer before we begin to reap the benefits. But we have to be visionaries, and we need to understand the importance of completing that project. Every dollar that we will receive from the local option sales tax between now and the end of 2012 is earmarked for that industrial park project, the completion of phase 1. There won't be any surplus monies. To me, the answer is simple. Should we end the local option sales tax in 2011? I think no.
Don't run away, Mick. I'm sure there'll be some questions for you.
I will be right over here.
Okay. David? Sure. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mick. I think that, again, the question is not so much, the money is going to a good cause. It's going to the right fund. The Chamber of Commerce prides themselves on helping economic development. I think the question of the day is, if the city made a mistake in misappropriating, or not misappropriating, misbudgeting what the cost would be for a civic center addition, and made it better after you asked the voters for the question, and it went from $300,000 budget to $1 million in actual expense, that was probably something that was missed. And I think that the question the City Council needs to ask themselves is, okay, a mistake was made, we'll move on, we're still $2 million extra from what we told the voters we were going to ask for. The funds are still covered. You could probably pour in another $10 million into the industrial park with what we really could do. But I think the question needs to be then, let's go back to the voters and say, we'd like to spend X and X of these projects and get this kind of dollars for this project. The question is, what was asked before, we've exceeded, the budgeted numbers were exceeded, and overall we still are in good shape. But I think it's time to say yes, it was a good thing, because if you're real visionaries, if you want this tool again, I think you guys need to know, I think you need to do the right thing here. That is, I think that's what our position is that 10 million plus has been raised, and it's a good tool. We want to support it again. I have no reason to think that it wouldn't happen again with the right projects in mind, and we want to support that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think that's a very narrow interpretation of the question. The question actually states very clearly that the $8 million figure would come into play if the city sold bonds. We did think that one through, because we knew that if we sold bonds, we would end up collecting this sales tax for well beyond 2012, and likely would have ended up in the range of $14 or $15 million. And we didn't want to do that. That accounts for the decision to try to do these and pay cash as we go and avoid the interest on the bonds. I think the question is very clear. The $8 million comes into play if there's a bond issue, and we never ever considered selling bonds once the projects got underway.
And just to respond to that, I think the only question there is, if there were bonds intended, that's what's called fuzzy math. The voters were told 8 million. If it was going to be 14 million with interest, that should have been stated, and it was not.
Nick, I have a question. What would be the downside if the sales tax were to end, in 3 months? I mean, would there be property tax increases?
No. The downside is you would be out the sales tax revenue that you would have collected in 2012, and we wouldn't be doing all these projects that we've identified out in the industrial park.
Okay. Do you have more questions or comments? Laura?
Thank you. Laura Becker, 1010 Candy, Ohio Avenue, Southwest. My question is this: if the loss fund agreement was for $8 million and you've now collected $10+ million, how much of that money has been spent, and then what is the plan for the balance?
Thank you, Laura. I think I'll leave that up to Mick and maybe even Steve Okens, who is the finance director.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't have the numbers in front of me as to what's been spent today. Maybe Steve stuck them in his pocket in anticipation of this discussion. But as I stated in my remarks, when people ask, what's the rest of the money going to be spent for, it's going to be spent in the industrial park, roads and infrastructure.
What's the easiest way to get closure on this? I mean, we've been dealing with this for a little while now, and I'd like to see this close and move on. What's the easiest route to go?
Well, it's a philosophical question that the council has to wrestle with and answer themselves. I think that we all have the same objective. It's just one of those philosophical differences, and there are some that now feel the tax should end. Is it because there was some confusion about the question? I don't know. Why would that be coming up 7 years later. I don't understand that, but it's something that you can do. It's just you have to decide what's the best route.
At this point, I will turn it over to the council. Councilman Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm your basic conservative person who doesn't like a lot of government. I think most of you people know that. However, with the question on the sales tax, I think the first statement in here, the ballot question, pretty much says it. Do you want the city to improve these 4 items? The $8 million says an estimated cost. You know, I do remodeling jobs, and I never do it on a contract. It's always an estimate. If somebody wants to do something, and I say, it's going to estimated cost is $50,000. Some of those end up to be $90,000. Because I don't know what we're going to get into when we tear into the house, much as we didn't know what we're getting into with the infrastructure out at the old airport, new industrial park. It's clear to me that that was an estimated cost, and the as far as the sales tax expiring, you know, if you want, we can bond for the rest of the indebtedness out there, and then move forward if that would make you happier. But I don't think that's what we're after here. We want to improve industrial park as much as we can with the tax dollars coming in with the sales tax. It was clear to me when I voted for this, and I did vote for it, that the city was wanting to improve these 4 items. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to remind the council that the Finance Committee has talked about this at least twice, and maybe more. And the Finance Committee felt that we were doing the right thing, and it was their opinion not to make any changes. So, you know, it's not like we haven't talked about it. It's not like we haven't thought about it. We've researched it, and it was the feeling of the Finance Committee that it's just fine as it is.
Councilman Reese.
You know, it was said at one point here tonight that we've collected more than what is needed for the projects. I don't believe we know what the industrial park is going to cost us at all. We have no idea. I wouldn't even know how to even begin to estimate what it's going to cost, because we don't know what we're going to have to or want to construct. And you know, I think we're all after the same thing. We want a progressive city, and I agree with you. I don't want to take advantage of what the citizens voted for, and I want to make sure that the tax is, the local option sales tax is treated in the same manner that we've treated it in the past. But I want us to be progressive. You know, I'm gonna go back. I moved to this town in 1972, and I worked for the city in the engineering department for a number of years before I left there. And when I moved to town, I went out to the industrial park, and there was a lot of bare land out there and a lot of grass growing, and there were some streets, and there was a few buildings. And we had just redone the airport. And it was a beautiful airport. Could drive right on the runway because we were doing some work out there, doing some surveys and running elevations and so on. If you would have ever told me in 1972 that the airport wouldn't be there and that we'd be expanding the industrial park where the airport is, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have thought you were crazy. Today, Willmar is that regional center, and we're very blessed. And again, we have no idea what that industrial park is going to cost us. We have, when is it even going to be constructed? I have no idea. We need some occupants, some industrial users to come in. And we need to have the money there so that when they want to come in, that we can construct it. So, you know, it's been said a couple times here, we need to be visionaries, and I think we, you know, in 1972, I wasn't very visionary because I never thought that that airport would be out of there. I think today we need to be those visionaries and continue the local option sales tax as it was passed, even though there was some misunderstandings, because we need to be able to fund this industrial park development when it is needed and at the extent it is needed. So and again, I think the city's done our staff has done a great job, where we didn't bond for anything and we aren't going to have to pay on those bonds. So I think we need to be careful of what we do.
Thank you, Councilman Reese. Any other, Councilman Fagerly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the chamber to come here. I know most of you know most of our business is done in committee meetings, and I don't recall seeing anyone from the chamber at any of our committee meetings, Public Works or Finance, to discuss this. I'm a chamber member since '91, and I don't recall getting this survey. And no one called me personally to come and to visit with your committee at the chamber when you guys meet. But you got to remember right now, we're kind of landlocked. We can't do anything because we haven't had release of all the land out there. So we haven't spent any money. Now that's come up is that we need to have a western interceptor line for the sewer. That's going to cost like $3 million. There's some businesses that want to annex into the city limits, and we got to get sewer to them if we're going to annex them in. That's what the additional money is going to go for, because there's no way they could afford the hookup fees if we annex them in and get the line out there. So we aren't spending the money. It's in reserve. So.
Any other questions from the council? Councilman Lee?
I guess my opinion is with this ballot question, I would kind of take the stance that we estimated $8 million back in 04 when we passed this. That was the best estimate we had. Here we are 6 years later, or 6 years into this almost, and we've collected $10 million. Granted, we haven't spent a lot of those funds. We're still waiting for land release on the airport property where the intended projects were at. Most of this project was allocated for, and we don't have real good estimates as to what the total project is right now. I think as far as the sales tax, I think we've met the requirement from what the ballot question asks, and I think we should sunset it, would be my opinion.
Any other discussion? Councilman Quacken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're back to the point that I talk about a lot, that words mean something. Information is power. Accurate information is very powerful. I'm not sure how when we told the voting public that we were going to spend $400,000 to connect the Blue Line Center and the Civic Center, and we ended up spending $1 million. That's not very specific, and in reviewing the sales tax document today, one of the points that it makes on page 10 is that since 1999, political subdivisions must hold a local referendum at a general election before imposing and authorizing local sales taxes. The revenues may only be used to fund specific capital improvements, which must be identified at least 90 days before the referendum. And so if we were going to spend $400,000 on the Civic Center, that's what we should have spent as far as I'm concerned. We shouldn't have spent $1 million. We didn't have the authorization from the public, I don't believe, to go beyond the $400,000. Now, others can disagree, okay? In the future, I have been one of the voices that has asked for more information, accurate information. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Can we fund it in the short term? And in the long term, is it sustainable? And we need that written down so that everybody understands what we're doing and why we're doing it. It's your government, the people's government, and so we have to get better at doing this. This is a difficult decision, and I think that in the future, when we do a local option sales tax, we have to be really careful, and we really have to be very prudent on how we spend the taxpayers' money, because, as Peter Hutchinson said at a chamber meeting, we're 25 years to get this situation figured out, and so we can't just spend money because we think we have that money there. Anyhow, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Any further discussion? Kevin or Mick, what needs to be done here as far as a, I'm sorry,
Information only at this point.
just information? Okay. Well, if there's no other comments, we'll digest this, or the council will digest this, and I'm sure that someone from the city staff will be in touch with you as to what and if they're make a decision on it. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, one question on this is, the Finance Committee currently looking at this, or is it on their agenda or future agenda items?
It's been on there at least twice, and the committee opted to take no action. So I think we take it for information and leave it at that.
Done deal. We'll take it for information. Thank you very much. That being said, we'll move on to the Willmar City Open Forum. Is there anyone scheduled to speak?
There is not.
There is not. With that, we'll move on to the Finance Committee report for July 11th. Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on our agenda had to do with the vehicle replacement policy, and staff presented some minor revisions to the vehicle replacement policy. We talked about it, looked it over, and after some discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I would move the recommendation of the committee and introduce a resolution adopting the proposed vehicle replacement policy as presented.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to introduce a resolution adopting the proposed vehicle replacement policy as presented. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin. Aye. Baggerly.
Aye.
Sableek.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
The next item was a request that we had to consider tax-exempt bonds. It says motion there, but we're going to end up taking this for information, and I'll explain that in a minute. Administrator Schmidt presented to us a request for a pre-application review from Dominium in the amount of $13,172,000 of tax-exempt bonds to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation of Eagle Ridge, Somerset, and Waters Edge Apartments. The city's conduit financing procedure was reviewed for qualification of this project. And you'll remember we instituted that here 4 or 5 years ago when we had some questions and concerns on that, and we reviewed that. Part of the proposed project is to upgrade housing for low and moderate income families, which would be an acceptable use of the funds, according to our policy. However, it looked to us like the majority of the financing would be for the purchase of the properties, and we questioned whether that was an appropriate use of tax-exempt financing. The purpose of the pre-application review is to inform applicants of the possibility of rejection of the full application, and that is the way that the committee felt. They didn't see it as fitting the policy. Subsequent to that, there's been some further discussion on the part of staff. Dominium wants to come in and talk to us and state their case. So at this point, we're going to take that for information only until Dominium has an opportunity to meet with the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Councilman.
Third item was an amendment to the West Winds Cooperative Agreement. Staff reported there's a discrepancy in interest rates that was noted between the cooperative agreement and the promissory note regarding the small cities funds of West Winds Estates. The cooperative agreement, dated January 22nd, 2008, refers to a 0.25% interest on a deferred loan of 30 years. The promissory note, dated March 23rd, 2010, makes reference to an interest rate of 0. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I would introduce a resolution requiring the promissory note to be revised to agree with the cooperative agreement at a 0.25% interest.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve a resolution requiring the promissory note to be revised to agree with the cooperative agreement at 0.25% interest. Discussion. Councilman Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is not the only discrepancy that's been in the West Winds project, but I'm curious as to who found this discrepancy. Where
Came up in an audit.
Audit by?
Our auditors, when they were reviewing the agreements.
And how long ago was that? Was that January or?
This spring.
Are there any other forthcoming changes or discrepancies within that project or any of the notes, I mean, that we know of?
Not that we're aware of, no.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Bleak.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
No.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
No.
5 ayes, 2 nays.
The motion carries.
The next item was a funding request for community-wide cleanup. Staff reported to us that in response to our request to determine a possible funding source for the city's $6,000 donation for the community-wide cleanup project that is being spearheaded by Linder Broadcasting Q102, we had two options for that $6,000. One was from capital expenditures, as $29,750 was allocated for a fire department vehicle, but the cost was $22,000, leaving an unspent balance of about $7,750. The other option we looked at was to take funds from personnel expenditures, as some positions remain vacant. We haven't expended any money on that. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I would introduce a resolution allocating excess funds in capital expenditures from the purchase of the fire department vehicle for the city's $6,000 donation to the community-wide cleanup project.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to introduce a resolution allocating the excess funds and capital expenditures from the purchase of the fire department vehicle for the city's $6,000 donation to the community-wide cleanup project. Discussion. Councilman Reese?
Bruce, where'd Bruce go? Well, I had had a discussion with Bruce about the community-wide cleanup. When we talked about it, without him here, but he had said to me that he thought the city's portion would only be like a couple grand. Was there some changes that brought it up?
Well, I think maybe Councilmember Dockin is better in a position to answer that, but from a staff perspective, early on in the planning process, we were led to believe that it would be considerably less than $6,000. I was not at the Community Development Committee when Lakeland presented that as a proposal for the city share.
Mr. Mayor, I do not recall the $2,000 figure. I don't believe it's in any of our minutes from any community development committee meetings, and so I'm not sure. Who is the Bruce that you spoke with?
Bruce Peterson.
Really?
I think, at the time, we were based on some very preliminary discussions we had had with Lakeland. That's what we thought it might be.
It's not a number, Mr. Mayor, I've ever heard of until tonight.
Councilman Duncan, would you care to explain what we'd be receiving for the $6,000?
Well, my understanding is it will be very strongly advertised in the newspapers. It will also get some, I think, television advertising.
And radio.
Pardon me?
And radio.
And radio, right. So it's, when you consider we have 20,000 people that live in our city and we're going to spend $6,000 once every 2 or 3 years to get our city cleaned up, the way that we get the message out is very important as far as I'm concerned, so that we have people aware that what is going to happen, and how they can get things to the site on 22nd Street Southwest near the recycling center and Fountain Field. I think, seems to me it's $6,000 well spent.
I wasn't questioning that at all.
Councilman Reese, would you like to readdress your question?
Yeah, I wasn't questioning the $6,000 at all. All I was questioning was that Bruce and I had had a discussion, and it sounded like it was going to be less than $2,000 at that time. And I'm just curious how it got to $6,000 over what we had discussed. That's all. I don't know. Maybe Bruce can answer that now. I don't know.
Mayor Yanish, Councilmember Reese, members of the council. I had no idea that Lakeland Broadcasting was coming back with a charge to the city until it was presented to the committee 2 meetings ago. And they said it's for marketing, it's for the logistics, setting up for staffing the various collection points at the site. They indicated that their cost, the total cost for the project would probably run in that $12,000 to $15,000.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing the $6,000 whatsoever. I think it is a bargain for the city. I'm not saying that. All I was wondering was what the difference was from when I talked to you and what's coming here. That was the only question I had. And I think you know why, and I won't go into that.
Right. At that time, Councilmember Reese, it was my understanding that the city's costs would be extremely minimal. That has changed.
And that was our discussion. I knew that.
Yep.
Yes.
Further discussion? I think, go ahead, Councilman DeBake.
Wasn't there some discussion about some in-kind things, maybe having some staff available for this event and using some vehicles, that type of thing? Will those in-kind things be charged against this $6,000 donation? Or is this $6,000 cash plus the in-kind stuff that we've talked about?
Yeah, there would be some in-kind staff requirements. I don't know that any decisions have been made logistically about vehicle use. I know Councilmember Dockin has been in contact with the local guard unit to see if that might be an option. So until we get all these issues ironed out over the next month, I'm not really sure what in-kind services will also be required. I know there will be some departmental people staffing, providing staff assistance at the site. But that's already figured into our budget. But that, there again, that is an in-kind contribution.
Councilman Dockin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my intention to ask Mr. Peterson and Jenna Hillenbrand to provide us with an itemized bill for the $6,000 or whatever amount that ends up being, so that we will know what precisely we're paying for with $6,000.
Thank you.
Again, we have 20,000 people that live in our cities. It seems like a small amount of money to get our city cleaned up, and I have heard a number of times that it's fairly desperate out there in certain areas, and we need to get the city cleaned up. So,
Councilman Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The resolution here is basically to allocate the money. You know, I mean, we allocated money for a vehicle, in the fire department and use $22,000 and there's X amount of dollars left. And we're just allocating the money for it presently, and I think it's going to a good cause. I mean, if the city staff and all of us had to do the logistics on this, it would take a heck of a lot of time. And then the promotion of it, which they're going to handle, is to me, we're getting a good deal on this, and it's really for the benefit of the community. I would call for the question.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
The next item on our agenda was the capital asset policy. Finance Director Okens reviewed proposed changes to the city's capital asset policy, which sets a minimum capital asset level of $1,000. Small purchases of $350 to $999 will be inventoried but will not be capitalized. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I would introduce a resolution adopting the revised capital asset policy as presented.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to introduce a resolution adopting the revised capital asset policy as presented. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember DeBleek.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The next item was reports, and the only report we had was the May Rice Trust report. That's for information only. And we talked a little bit about future agenda items, again for information only, and we talked a lot about the budget and the timing on that, and we also requested that budget deletion forms be made available to all the council members, and I believe that was in our packet this week, and I would encourage the council to, if you have ideas on things that you think should be in the budget or should not be in the budget, please get those to the mayor in a timely manner.
Thank you.
For information only. The final item had to do with the 2011 street project special assessment interest rate. Administrator Schmidt informed us that the interest rate previously established for 2011 special assessments charged to property owners was 4.75%. The July 5th, 2011 bond sale resulted in a rate of 2.218%. It's been our policy and practice to charge up to 2% more than the bond sale rate to ensure covering required bond payments should there be a revenue shortfall caused by uncollected special assessments from tax forfeiture properties and foreclosures. Staff recommended that the interest rate charged to property owners be reduced to 4.2%. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I would introduce a resolution revising the 2011 special assessments interest rate from 4.75% to 4.2%.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to introduce a resolution revising the 2011 special assessments interest rate from 4.75% to 4.20%. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That concluded the business of the Finance Committee. Unless there's questions, I would move to file these minutes.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to file the minutes of the Finance Committee report for July 11th, 2011. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. This time we'll enter into the Public Works Safety Committee report. Councilman Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item was a change order number 9 to Project 812C that was brought to the committee by Ronna Ray from Donahue and Associates, and the change order balances the project cost by adjusting the contract to the actual amounts due to Graham Construction Services Incorporated. It includes 5 allowances, resulting in a decreased amount for the contract of $6,103.48. So I would introduce a resolution to approve that change order number 9 to 812C, authorize city administrator to execute on behalf of the city.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the to approve the change order number 9 to project 0812C and authorize the city administrator to execute it on behalf of the city. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Bleak.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
The next item, Rhonda reviewed with the committee the substantial completion dates for all of the systems involved in the construction of our new wastewater treatment facility. And that's Project 812C. The work has been completed. The project has been inspected by the city and by Donahue and Associates, verifying satisfactory completion. I would introduce a resolution to accept Project 812C as constructed and authorize the issuance of final payment in the amount of $263,769.65 to Graham Construction, Inc.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to accept project number 0812C as constructed and authorize issuance of final payment in the amount of $263,769.65 to the Graham Construction Services Incorporated. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Bleak.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The motion carries.
Under Project 1017B, there's some additional items that have been identified for direct purchase, and it's a recommendation from Donahue and Associates that's these items needed for the SCADA system at the old wastewater treatment facility, and the total cost of the modifications is $7,320. I would introduce a resolution to approve authorization to make direct purchase for that amount, transfer the money from other services into other charges, and authorize the city administrator to execute the direct purchase on behalf of the city of Willmar.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the authorization to make direct purchase for $7,320, transfer the money from other services into other charges, and authorize the city administrator to execute the direct purchase on behalf of the city. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Bleak.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
The council will recall our last meeting, there was a hearing that was scheduled, and that hearing had to be canceled, and then the residents on 12th Street Southwest between Becker and Trott then petitioned now, and the needed amount of signatures have been acquired on that petition, and that allows the city to consider the improvements feasible and order the project. So I would introduce the resolution to determine sufficiency of petition and order the improvements pursuant to acceptance of 100% of the affected property owners.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to determine the sufficiency of the petition and order the improvement pursuant to acceptance of 100% of the affected property owners. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Bleak.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
Next item was our city agreement with our school district and the renewal of a 3-year contract, and Chief Weifels presented information in regards to that. That agreement allows for 3 full-time police officers to provide services to the school resource officers and acting as school resource officers. And the cost breakdown for this is in our packet. The agreement calls for 2% increases on an annual basis, and it represents approximately 50% of the officer's annual cost for the police department. So I would introduce a resolution to approve the 3-year agreement with the school district and authorize the city administrator to sign on behalf of the city.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the 3-year agreement with the Willmar School District and to authorize the city administrator to sign on behalf of the city. Discussion. Councilman Dakin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's important for the public to understand that we have 3 police officers that will work 9 months out of 12. The cost for those 3 officers for salary, pensions, and insurance is $257,008. It's an expensive situation, well needed, but...
Thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dakin.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
The next item is in regard to inspections. I had talked to Kelly Terwisha, and who's a contractor in town, Terwisha Construction, and they've got some difficulties on some of their projects in getting electrical inspections and plumbing inspections because of the legislature not coming to an agreement on the budget and with the shutdown. And I had contacted Mick, and Mick did some research before the meeting, and they were in contact with the League of Minnesota Cities, who had a sample ordinance which would allow the city to do these inspections within our jurisdiction by contracting through the state electrical inspector. Now, we really don't know. I thought this was not going to be needed earlier on the weekend, but we really don't know. So we still need to introduce the ordinance for a hearing on August 1st. So I would do so.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to introduce the ordinance for a hearing on the electrical inspections and on August 1st at the council meeting. That would just be a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries.
The committee also addressed the issue of plan review for underground utilities on our own projects, on the city's projects, and then commercial construction projects. And there was a motion made that would direct staff to contact the Commissioner of Labor and Industry and seek a waiver for the project plan review. There will be additional research performed by staff to determine if further local ordinance revisions are necessary, but I would move the direction of the committee.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to direct the staff to contact the Commissioner of Labor and Industry and seek a waiver for project plan review. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, that's the end of the minutes. I would move to file the minutes. If there's questions, we'll entertain them.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to file the minutes of the Public Works Safety Committee report for July 12th, 2011. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries. We'll get into the Labor Relations Committee report for July 13th. Tim, do you want to take care of that one for us?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on the committee's agenda was
City Administrator Schmidt advised the committee that Willmar Police Officer Christian Berg had resigned from the Willmar Police Department, creating a third vacancy in the number of licensed peace officers on the roster at the department. The committee spent considerable time discussing the impact of this most recent resignation on the city's ability to provide adequate police services programs throughout the community. Police Chief Weifels was present to answer questions and provide an administrative perspective. Following discussion, a motion was made, second, and it passed for the following, and I would introduce that resolution that staff be authorized to fill one of the 3 vacant patrol vacancies on the police department at the present time.
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second. A motion has been made and seconded that his staff is authorized to fill one of the 3 patrol vacancies. Discussion? Councilman Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did some research on my own here. I'll pass them down, Doug. Per capita police officers hired in 14 different cities, all of them pretty much similar to the size of Willmar, a few above, a few below. At our present level of 31 officers, we are second from the top in per capita. If we hire another one, we'll be at the very top. We will have more people. We will serve less people per officer than any other city of these 14 that are similar size to Willmar. I got this information off the internet and by calling some police departments as they did not have their information on the internet. It's all taken from the 2010 census, and all these numbers are current. Some of these cities, there's 3 of them that also have officers in school systems. Willmar is fortunate to have the police department and sheriff's department located right next to each other. So if we do need help, they're there to help us, and as they have in the past. I don't think this is a prudent decision to hire somebody presently, not just for these reasons, but for the reason that we have not negotiated a settlement yet with LELS. We don't know what the final contract will be. It may be such that it wouldn't fit our budget. We might have to lay somebody off. So I ask, why would we hire somebody presently until this contract gets settled? So I speak against this motion.
Any further discussion? Councilman Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our meeting, this item came up first, and then later in the minutes, of course, I'll bring up the discussion we had. It was a closed session with respect to labor negotiations. But I agree with Councilman Christensen that we might be a little quick here with our decision until we've finished the labor negotiations with the law enforcement union.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm not going to argue about whether the position should be filled or not. That's your call. But I would point out, in surveys like this, we're talking about number of licensed peace officers. I don't know how many sergeants or command positions are involved. I don't know if those communities have DARE programs, have officers assigned to the drug task force, and numerous other programs that we have. So a breakdown of patrol positions might be helpful in the analysis.
Councilman Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think one of the things we need to remember as far as the LELS contract and hiring, the procedure to hire an officer takes a long time. I mean, you can easily be, I think, 3 months out anyway to get someone hired. And I would certainly hope that by approaching the beginning of the next calendar year, we'll have that contract settled. So I don't see that as a reason to not get started on the hiring process.
Further discussion? Mr. Mayor. Councilman Reed?
I'm part of the committee. I voted for it. I will vote for it. One of the things that I would bring out in regard to it is that we did do a survey. Survey came back, and I believe one of the highest priorities that the tax-paying public wanted was our police, our public safety, and our fire department to be at the top. So that's one of the main reasons that I felt we needed to do this with some of the losses that we've had in the department.
Councilman Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly could do further research. Most of these internet sites for the police departments did have the number of patrolmen on there and officers and sergeants. I hesitated to write that down because you could throw too much information on somebody also. But the whole idea is we put a hiring freeze on it. We've broken it a couple times here in the last couple years. We don't know the extent of LGA is going to be cut next year. The economy's in a funk. We, along with the county and the state and the federal government, seem to keep doing the same thing. Spend more and don't cut government. I mean, there comes a time when we need to face the judge and see the facts are there. I mean, I don't know why we would do this. It isn't prudent to me to do this at this particular time. We can hire a police officer in December and November after this contract agreement has been settled. We don't know what the contracts are going to be for the other 3-4 unions that we're handling. We don't know what they're going to be. They might bust their budget. I don't know. I know that they're asking for more. But it just doesn't seem prudent to me as a council person and as a citizen of this city, state, county, and the United States that we keep doing the same thing over and over and wondering why we're in a problem. Now, Willmar isn't in the tank as much as some other cities and counties are. However, LGA, we don't know what it's going to be next year. None of us want to underfund the police department because, as the survey stated, or Councilman Reese stated, the survey said we want good police protection here. However, we're at the top right here. We have less people per patrol officer or per hired police officer than 12 of these other cities, and we're going to be at the top if we hire one more, if we make the decision to hire one tonight. I just don't think it's prudent to do it at this time, and we may disagree, but that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman. We have a motion on the table. Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember DeBleek.
No.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
No.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
No.
Dockin.
No.
Fagerly.
Aye.
3 ayes, 4 nays.
The motion fails. Item number 2.
Next item on our agenda was City Administrator Schmidt informed the committee that Police Chief Weifels had successfully completed his 1-year probationary period. The committee reviewed current and past compensation considerations, and following a discussion, a motion was made, seconded, and passed for the following recommendation, and I will introduce that, namely that the City Council acknowledge Chief Weifels' successful completion of the probationary period and that his salary be set at $91,000 effective July 24, 2011.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded that the City Council acknowledge Chief Weifels' successful completion of the probationary period and that his salary be set at $91,000 effective July 24, 2011. Now, is that a resolution or a motion?
I believe it's standard motion.
Yeah, standard. All those in favor say aye. Or discussion, I'm sorry. Motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries.
Last item on the agenda, Chairman Ahman announced it was the intent of the committee to close the meeting to discuss employment contract negotiations with the various city bargaining groups. Motion was made, second, and passed for that purpose, and the motion was, the meeting was closed. And following that closed meeting, a motion was made, seconded, and passed to reopen the meeting, and thereafter, being no further business, the meeting adjourned. And if there are no further questions, I would move to file those minutes.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to file the minutes of the Labor Relations Committee report for July 13th, 2011. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries. With that, we'll move into the Community Development Committee report for July 14th, 2011. Councilman Docken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 1 was public comments for information only. Laura Becker thanked the council for mosquito spraying efforts, and just saw today on our website, or got an email, that they'll be spraying again on the 20th and the 21st. So those little things will probably start dying off. Item number 2, community cleanup continued. For information only, Chairman Docken informed the committee that the local disabled American veterans would be holding a flag collection in conjunction with the city cleanup in September. That means that we will destroy the American flags properly. Lori Park Smith of Ridgewater College told the committee that she would work with college students to get them involved in the cleanup efforts. College begins prior to the September 10th, and the college clubs are responsible for participating in community activities. She expressed confidence that help would be available as long as there is a plan for them to work. She will contact Jenna Hillenbrand at Lakeland Broadcasting to work on logistics. Councilmember DeBleek, who is our liaison to the MUC, indicated that the MUC had agreed to cover the disposal fees for refrigerators and freezers with compressors. This is being done to encourage the purchase of more energy-friendly appliances. Item number 3, John Supper Club building, and this is a motion. Staff opened the discussion by noting that the rehabilitation work to be completed by July 1st, 2011 had not been finished per the agreement between the city and Paul and Trudy Kudrowski. Staff had recommended revocation of the building permit and seeking an order for demolition. Staff said that demolition was not the first choice, but that something was needed to move the process off of dead center. Wayne Larson, Paul Kudrowski's attorney, informed the committee that the owner had been through some personal issues and had been unable to obtain financing due to a divorce. He presented letters from Mr. Kudrowski's bank and accountant stating their willingness to work with Paul to get the rehabilitation work completed. Mr. Larson was requesting a revision to the agreement to extend the completion date. Mike Gauke spoke in support of a second chance for Mr. Kudrowski. Tony Freeberg, pastor of the Nazarene Church, spoke about the stress of the divorce and asked for an extension of the agreement. Chair Docken said he had been told that the building needed a good cleaning before the rehabilitation work could continue. Oscar Trevino, the carpenter on the project, explained that he was ready to go to work on the project and suggested a 6-month extension. Following significant discussion, a motion was made and seconded for the following: to extend the deadline for the completion until December 31st, 2011, with the conditions that the project schedule be submitted, and that the owner provide written progress reports every 2 weeks. And I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to extend the deadline for completion until December 31st, 2011 on the John Supper Club building, with the conditions that a project schedule be submitted and that the owner provide written progress reports every 2 weeks. Discussion. Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple questions. Is financing in place so that this can progress? I guess I'd address that to Bruce.
Mayor Yanis, Councilmember Anderson, members of the council, the letter provided by Mr. Kidrowski's attorney stated the bank's willingness to work with Mr. Kidrowski. There was no commitment to finance involved in writing, and that issue was brought up at the committee meeting.
Okay, so, you know, you may or may not get it right away. Is it reasonable, then, that this can be completed in 6 months?
Absolutely. With any reasonable amount of diligence, it can be.
Okay, I don't know what extent
the lack of diligence is the whole question, has always been the problem.
Okay.
Yes, it certainly can be.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilman Fagerly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What exactly is the issue that the city has with the building? Is it the interior or the exterior, or?
It's both.
So I drove by there tonight. I need some new trim boards and fascia, and some bricks are loose or cracked off, and some broken windows. But it sounds like he's in first grade and we're his teacher and we're trying to monitor him.
Well, we've got some code issues that are at play here. We've got compliance date issues for building codes and building permits that are in question. And I think that Mr. Kidrowski agrees with the city and has stated that in writing in the past with regard to maintenance and upgrade of this property, as evidenced by the agreement that he executed a little over a year ago. And it's simply a matter of holding him to that. The building does need to be fixed. It does need to be completed. In its current condition, the council could very easily declare it an unsafe building and move for its demolition. It needs to get done.
But if we do that, how much money does the adjacent property owners have to spend to fix up their buildings because it's a common wall? You know what that's going to look like once that building's torn down?
It's the building inspector's opinion that that is not a common wall and it can be demolished without impacting the adjacent property.
I think we heard that back in the 70s when a building on Pacific went down and a restaurant.
Guess I'm not familiar with that.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have any tenants in there. It's just his own business, right?
That is correct at this time, yes. The permit he's applied for requires that he maintain work on the property, that he demonstrate progress, and without that progress, the city would typically be bound to terminate that permit, to revoke that permit. And this is simply, in my opinion, the committee and possibly the council recognizing some issues that have stood between him and his commitment and allowing him another opportunity to meet his commitment.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion? I do have a question, Mr. Peterson. Has anyone done anything about the commitment from the bank? I mean, is there anyone that's gotten a firm commitment from the bank as if they will provide financing, or?
Staff has not gotten that, nor would it typically be staff's position to do so, and I don't believe that there was any of that discussion at the committee level that would indicate that that's anyone's responsibility other than the building's owner.
So we really don't know whether he can get the financing?
It's my understanding, and it was somewhat addressed at the committee meeting, that there have been some financial issues eating away at his cash flow in the past year, and those issues have been resolved, which does permit some cash flow into this building.
We just need a motion on this. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries.
Item number 4, Buy Local First campaign. For information only, anybody from the chamber going to make a presentation? Okay. Mr. Mayor, can we have the presentation first?
Sure, to go right ahead. Come on up, Gary. Just introduce yourself and tell us where you live.
Okay. Mr. Yanish and chamber or council members, thank you for inviting me. My name is Gary Laughlin. I'm the owner of Print Masters and Quick Signs here in Willmar on First Street, and I'm also a member of the Chamber Board of Directors, and I'm the head of a committee that was recently formed called Buy Local First. We had a previous Buy Local program in place about 3 or 4 years ago called Buy in the Lakes area, and this is kind of a revamping of that program. We found that the previous one was a little bit bulky and required quite a bit of commitment from the businesses that we wanted participating. So we tried to come up with a program here that's a lot simpler. We aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to do a top-of-mind awareness campaign to make sure that in these economic times that we get the word out in front of people that it is important to buy local, and that we have people think about their purchases before they go making purchases out of town. So we've got a little PowerPoint presentation we're going to show. The first slide here talks about the amount of money that's leaving Canyon County. The Buy Local First program is a community-wide partnership that we've started with the Willmar Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce, Main Street Willmar, and the Candy Mall Association. And basically, again, we just want to raise awareness of how business and consumer spending affect our local economy. We just want people to think twice before they purchase goods or services out of town, and at least give the local businesses an opportunity to earn their business. We're not forcing anybody into buying locally if it's a financial situation that they want to consider for going outside of town. We just want them, again, to give us a chance to bid on for their services. The second slide here talks about the amount of money leaving Canyon County. These numbers are taken from the Department of Employment and Economic Development. Their estimate is over $1 billion leaves Canyon County in spending by businesses alone each year. That doesn't include the individual consumer spending. If you decide you're going to run to St. Cloud for a meal or shopping, or to the Twin Cities, it does not include government spending by the city or county government, public school district, and it does not include any nonprofit spending. Again, by taking this money and sending it out of town, it takes money away from our local economy. If we keep it in Canyon County, it helps it recirculate throughout the area in the form of wages, supplies, and services. And as you guys all know here in the City Council, that money is very important. Our local government, school districts rely on the taxes. Next slide talks about the definition of local businesses. And this is something that we've struggled with both the committees that we've had over the last 3 or 4 years. Our committee decided that the definition of a local business is any business operating within Canyon County. This includes both locally and non-locally owned businesses, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And how can we all make a difference? We can make a huge difference by spending locally. And the main thing that the point we're trying to get across here is also to encourage others to buy locally and keep the word out in front of not only other businesses, but other individuals and the government entities. A little more spending locally here could go a long ways if we all cooperate. These are some of the numbers that I like, probably the best out of our whole presentation. I'd like to talk about some of the numbers here, and we put a little top 10 reasons together to keep your dollars in Canyon County. The estimate is about 47% of the local tax burden in Minnesota is paid by businesses. And again, without their support, the property taxes would be much higher for everybody. The next three are what I like to use when we talk about what is the local business. Spending $100 at a locally owned business keeps approximately $68 within the local economy. Spending $100 at a non-locally owned business keeps about $43 within the local economy. Number 4 is pretty obvious there, but spending online keeps $0 within our community. Going back to number 3 and 4, it just shows you that we prefer that you spend your money at a locally owned business, but even if it's a big box store or non-locally owned business, some of the money does stay within our community. Number 5 is an important issue too for us, is that the fact that a lot of the community groups and the nonprofits rely very heavily on local businesses for charitable distributions. And on First Street, I see that on a daily basis where I hit up by local charities for some type of donation. Local businesses make up a big portion of the employee base and provide more jobs for you and your family. Largely responsible for attracting more people, more businesses, more opportunities to our community. Generally, a local business will be more knowledgeable and have friendlier customer service. Shopping locally saves you gas and time. We all know what the price of gas is now. And number 10 is very important. If you look up and down First Street and some other areas of town, you'll know how important this one is. If we do not support our local businesses, they will not survive. Now, what our plan of action is, initially we have sent out a little goodie bag, I call it. That's a Buy Local First bag. All the chamber members got one of these mailed to them a couple of months ago. It's got a little window cling in it that we're encouraging everybody to put on their windows or their doors in their business. It's got some labels that we're asking them to put on their envelopes and invoices and any payments that might go out of their office. We've got a little top 10 card that we already talked about that we're asking them to put in with any of the products that leave their store. And then we also have an electronic version of the logo that is on the willmarareachamber.com website, so you can download that and use that on your website. Here's some examples of some of the things that we've seen around town already as far as my local program. Rick Dolly over at Cullen's has used an ad with our top 10 reasons in one of the local newspapers. Waltz has used our Buy Local First on their digital sign. Randy at Hardware Hank has done something similar to Rick, and he's used a Buy Local First ad with the top 10 reasons in the local newspaper. We've done some paycheck stuffers and some payroll stuffers for some local businesses. Here's a couple websites that we've seen the Buy Local logo used down here locally, and we're encouraging all of our people that are in the chamber and anybody else that would like to use this logo to put it on the website. Here's the chamber website, which has the Buy Local logo at the bottom, and if you click on that, it allows you to download the Buy Local logo and also to view a YouTube video. Here's just a partial list of some of the financial supporters so far. We're a self-funded group. We got our seed money from the top 3 organizations that you see there, and then we've gotten some additional financing and in-kind services from some of the other businesses in town here. We have a little Buy Local YouTube video that we're going to show here, and this is a way that we thought would be attractive to some of the younger generation that is buying their purchases off the internet. Helping us put that together. Again, just to summarize, we're just wanting to get the word out that we'd like to see the local business get an opportunity to provide services, and we'd like the council to support us in our effort, and for the city of Willmar to also support us in buying locally. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
And do you have anything to add? Any questions?
Councilman, do you have any questions or comments? Councilman Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, guys. Well done. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, and I wish you all the luck in the world getting this out there so that we can keep all those dollars locally. We need to do that.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Councilman? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Again, Mr. Mayor, going back to item number 4, Buy Local First campaign for information only, Ken Warner and Gary Laughlin of the Willmar Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce gave a PowerPoint presentation about the Buy Local First campaign. The purpose of the program is to emphasize the financial benefits of shopping locally as opposed to shopping out of town or on the internet. It was stated that $1 billion leaves Candioi County annually in business-to-business spending. In the campaign, a local business is defined as any business operating in Candioi County. The Chamber, Main Street Willmar, and the Candy Mall Association are leading the effort and are providing window clings, cards, bags, and labels for distribution. Businesses are encouraged to use the Buy Local First logo on their letterhead, email, and website. The main focus has been on business-to-business transactions, but they are urging governmental units and individuals to also shop locally. Number 5, airport land release for information only. Staff provided an update on land release efforts. Conversations have been held with the FAA regarding partial releases. There has been a delay in submitting the marketing plan and National Register application due to the state closure and its impact on SHPO offices. Staff told the committee that the partial land release being sought were as follows. First, release all the land lying east of the new County Road 5. The second release would be that area lying between the relocated 69 kV power line and County Road 5, along with 100-foot strip just west of the power line to accommodate a road corridor. Staff reminded the committee that the timing of the land release was critical to the construction of the Western Interceptor Sewer and Industrial Park Street infrastructure west of County Road 5 in 2012. The timing issue was related to local option sales tax funding and coordination with BNSF to construct the Willmar Avenue crossing. Item 6, updates for information only. Staff presented the following updates. Construction is just getting underway on the Mid-Central Research and Outreach Center on the Midwest campus. Novatech Engineering is expanding to an adjacent building on the technology campus. A new company, 10X, is going to be locating on the Midwest Technology campus. They produce a device that is used to eliminate scar tissue using ultrasonic energy. So there'll be 3 buildings, Mr. Mayor, that will be under construction at the Tech Center. And then Cub Foods is also subdividing their property to allow for a possible future sale of the fuel station. Item 7, miscellaneous for information only. Staff informed the committee of the Design Center Bounty of the County dinner that is being held on August 11th, 2011. Council members were urged to attend. There were no further items to come before this committee, Mr. Mayor, so I would, unless there are questions, I would move to file the minutes.
Councilman Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question for Gary or Ken. If somebody wants to join in on this Buy Local First, they don't have to belong to the chamber? So they get a hold of you, call the chamber office? Okay, thank you. That was it. I'll second your motion to file the minutes.
A motion has been made and seconded to file the minutes of the Community Development Committee report for July 14th, 2011. Discussion?
Ron seconded.
Okay, there is a second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That motion carries. Holly, if we can ask you to come back up to the podium and discuss the assessment hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I am here tonight to call for the assessment hearing for the 1101-12 project, the project which we just had the improvement hearing on. The bids for that project were opened on April 12th, 2011, with the low bid going to Dunnick, Inc. And the added streets would be added to that contract, so the assessment hearing would need to be held August 15th, 2011.
August 15th.
Would introduce the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second. The motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? Motion has been made and seconded to call for an assessment hearing on project number 1101-12 on August 15th. Roll call.
Councilmember Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
DeBlea.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion carries. Mr. Peterson, with the consideration of the preliminary final plat for Super Value.
Mayor Yanish, members of the council, you have in your packet a copy of the preliminary/final plat of Super Value Second Edition. This is such a simple plat that the Planning Commission addressed both the preliminary plat and the final plat in the same process. The second edition is a two-lot plat, and what it does very simply is it splits off the gas station or the fuel sales from the balance of the Cub Food site. It's necessary that they maintain 100 feet of street frontage to meet our minimum lot width requirement. There will be cross-access easements recorded with the plat. That was a condition of Planning Commission approval. And the Planning Commission approved the final plat with that condition, as well as either the reapportionment or payment of special assessments that are currently due against the property. It's a recommendation of staff that the council approve the plats with those same conditions, and it should be noted that there would be no signatures sought from either the Planning Commission or the council pending resolution of the special assessments issue. So this is simply to take action that will pave the way to execution of the plat documents once the special assessments have been dealt with.
Move to approve.
Second. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the, now is that, I show in my notes, a preliminary final plat.
It's both. I would say to just approve the final plat.
Final plat.
Acceptable, yes.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries. With that, we will move into the miscellany. We have, Holly, would you like to talk about the parking lot closure request? She would, I can tell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I apologize, we don't have a map this evening as the internet was not working. So we have a parking lot closure request for the parking lot that is located on the corner of Benson Avenue Southwest and 5th Street Southwest. It is a city parking lot. The business is requesting to have that parking lot closed on a Sunday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. for a store anniversary celebration. Typically we have street closure applications that come through city staff, and we can just do those in-house, but when it's a parking lot request for a parking lot closure, we need to bring it forward to you for discussion.
What needs to be done on that, Kevin?
Just a simple motion if you're going to authorize that. It's west of West Central Printing. We'd have to make certain the access along Fifth Street to West Central Printing stays open.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the date on that.
July 31st. It's a Sunday, and it would be from 1 to 4 p.m.
Motion to approve the request.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the request to close the parking lot on July 31st next to,
It's across from West Central Printing, so we would still need to maintain access for the West Central Printing.
all those in favor, say aye.
Discussion?
Aye.
Discussion.
I assume that staff has discussed this, fire department's okay, and police department are okay with it?
Yes.
I mean, usually this kind of thing comes to Public Works, Public Safety, and we discuss.
Well, it's the timing of the application. We just got it, and there's no council
I
meeting
understand
prior
that.
to then.
Further discussion?
I just didn't want to assume, Mick.
We have a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. At this particular time, as I mentioned earlier, are there any further miscellaneous?
You had mayoral appointment on Dan Haldane, did you want to?
Oh, I have that mayoral appointment on Dan Haldane. I did mention.
We added it to the consent agenda.
Okay, so then that's passed.
Yep. That's passed.
All right.
We have the council committee dates.
Council committee dates, let's do that. Councilman Anderson.
Finance Committee will meet July 25th, 4:45.
Councilman Reese.
No meeting scheduled.
Tim, Councilman Johnson.
28th of July at 4:45.
Hey, Tim.
Pardon?
Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim.
Oh, okay.
You did good.
Pardon?
You did very well.
How about you, Councilman Johnson? Is there anything?
For finance, labor, or labor, you mean no meeting.
No meeting?
Sure.
Thank you for reminding me about that, by the way, Kevin. That being said, as I mentioned earlier, Nick Schmidt is retiring, and this is his last council meeting. And it is customary tradition to present a retiring staff member with a clock. However, we all know that when Mick retires, that he will not be paying attention to the time. So the mayor and the council have come up with a card and a gift certificate for you, Mick, if you'd like to step forward. Thank you very much for all you've done and all your help that you've had in the transition period.
Thank you.
Hopefully, the golf course is a better place to spend it.
Thank you.
You will allow me a few minutes?
Oh, absolutely.
Audrey would be proud of me because I actually used the last page of the calendar. This is something that I have not done for 30 years, so it's kind of a monumental event. I wanted to have this opportunity, Mr. Mayor and council members and the community, to thank the community. I guess I would be considered one of those long-term residents of Willmar. I went to high school here. I was gone for a few years for some military obligations, but I came back in 1974, and the city clerk at the time, Dick Hoagland, offered me a temporary position in his office until I could find something, and the rest is kind of history. I need to thank the mayor and the council members, past and present. I think we did a little research project one day, and there were 5 mayors involved in this span of 37 years and 20-some council members. It was a big number, and I've always felt very comfortable working with all the mayors and all the council members, and I appreciate all the support I've gotten over the years. I've had a lot of questions in these last weeks and months about what some of the highlights of my career with the city were, and people tend to focus for some reason on capital projects, and certainly there have been a lot of those over time, and perhaps too numerous to mention, and I hesitate to do so because I don't want to leave anything out, but you know, those kinds of projects like airports and wastewater treatment plants and business and industry and manufacturing development are all part of a naturally growing community, and I don't know that anyone could ever claim that they all happened as a result of what they did. But I certainly will, as I drive through the community in the years to come and I see those things, I know it'll be kind of reassuring to remember that I played a small role in the development of those projects. I tend to focus most of my memories and reflections on the just the general growth and development of the city. I think back in 1974, the population was probably in the 14,000 range, give or take a few numbers. And there's been a lot of changes in the community. Some maybe people might argue not so good, but I think overall our community has changed for the better, and we tend as a community and a society today to focus all of our energy and our efforts on the negative things that are happening in our communities and in our states and nationally, and we spend very little time talking about all the good things that our community has done over the years, and I think that Willmar has a very bright future. I like to reflect on the city's financial strength. Councilmember Christensen made reference to that tonight when we were talking about an issue, and I guess that's going to be right up at the top of my list as well. We've weathered the recession better than a lot of other communities, and we should be proud of that. I think that sometimes public employees are viewed as liberal types and liberal spenders. I can assure you, you look at this group behind me, there aren't a lot of liberals back there. And we've exercised, I think, a lot of our own personal philosophies as we've tried to manage the growth of the community within the confines and the guidelines and the policies set by City Council. And over the years, with that council support, we have positioned the city, I think, well into the future. I look at the stability of our organization. I've been with the city for 37 years, and I know that there are a lot of folks that are approaching that number as well. I've been blessed to have these long-term relationships with a number of our management group, and I'll run through some of those in a minute or so. But I am also very proud of the relationship that the city has established with the city, or with the county and the school district, and the Chamber of Commerce. You know, I felt just a wee bit uncomfortable tonight in that discussion about the local option sales tax, because I know that Ken and I have had an excellent working relationship over the years, and I've always appreciated his support, but I felt that someone had to be a strong advocate for something that I think everybody believed in from the outset. We're just kind of maybe moving in different directions today, but it'll all work out for the best. So I appreciate Ken's friendship over the years and our professional association as well. And I do agree with the Buy Local First program. I'm not going to argue about that one. But it's the relationship that I have with my staff that I think will always I'll be all right here. I just need a minute. Throw me my water. No, don't throw it. It's my relationship with the staff that I feel most strongly about. And starting with Rich, the city attorney, who has been with me from day one. He was actually there when I started, and he's been like the rock at Gibraltar for me, and I've made it 37 years without going to jail, and I can attribute that pretty much to Rich's guidance over the years. Kevin and Bruce and Steve all came on board when we saw this huge turnover at the city office building, much like you guys are going to see now here in the next year or two, or three. And I wasn't exactly an old guy at the time, probably in my mid-30s, and when we hired these three individuals, I think were all in their late 20s, and so we started out as a relatively young group, and we've grown as a team over the years. Those three guys that I mentioned, I'm fond of saying are my private little advisory group. If I'm really in a pickle sometimes and don't know what to do, I will convene this little strategy group, and we generally are able to work out a lot of agreements. And you know, when I talk about the financial situation of the city, of course, a lot of the credit goes to Mr. Olkins, who has been that right-hand financial guy for all these years, and the growth of the community is Bruce's bailiwick, and he's respected and envied throughout the state as one of the most knowledgeable planning and development professionals in his field. And then, of course, there's Kevin, who without Kevin, I wouldn't have anybody to yell at every day about how messy his office is. It's something that I suspect Charlene will have some issues with as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Marv came to us out of the metropolitan area when as you might recall, and pardon me for using that word, Jim, came to us when we were having some real serious issues at the fire department. And I think that he has done a marvelous job in the last 10 or 12 years, however long it's been, to bring a sense of professionalism to our fire department and a lot of respect, not only from the community, but from the city offices and the mayor and council as well. And I've appreciated that very much. Dave has, like me, you know, come up through the system, and he's probably been with the city as long as I have. I don't know, but I'm guessing it's probably pretty close. And he continues that wonderful tradition we have in the police department of training and educating our people and placing them in positions where, when opportunities like the police chief's service, they're there and they're ready to take charge, and Dave has been no exception to that rule. And then there's Holly, who came along and gave us all somebody to pick on. But I'll tell you what, I think that in the years to come, Holly's presence as the Public Works Director and Charlene here as the City Administrator, we're going to start to see a shift in the makeup of our organization. And I think, you know, I haven't done a very good job of it over the years, although I've tried. But now we're starting to see some more women in our top management positions, and we see it in the police department with Sergeant Osmus and our city assessors, Pat Erickson and Colleen Thompson out at the waste treatment plant. Now with Holly and Charlene, I think that we'll continue to move in that direction, and that's always very positive. But you know what? It's the frontline employees who really make the difference, and I get really irritated and disappointed when I hear all of this negative talk about public employees these days, and a lot of it is based on what we see happening in communities out east or out west where somebody did something really stupid, or some community was providing pension programs that were outrageous and now bankrupting their communities. But we don't have that here in the city of Willmar. And you know, the best analogy that I ever heard about a community local government organization was described as a ship where the community residents elected a board of directors, the mayor and council in this case, and they hire a captain to get their ship, their cargo, their policies, all of their goals and objectives from point A to point B. But that's not going to happen by just hiring the captain. It's the people down in the bottom, the belly of the ship that are doing the work, that are going out in all kinds of weather conditions. They're the ones that are making all of us, and I don't exclude the mayor and council, look good to the community. So be careful when we generalize about public employees, because what I see happening in these larger cities is not happening in Willmar, Minnesota, and I'm very proud of all of our employees. And I'll wrap up by saying that you know, I need to acknowledge my family and friends. I can't ever remember my kids saying they were mad at Dad because he couldn't make a ball game because of a meeting, or I never heard Max complain about being late for dinner, or that goofy meal schedule we've had for 30-some years. But they were very supportive of my career, as were my friends, and I appreciate that. There's one special person. She's still here? Yeah, I'm not going to turn around and look at her because the whole thing will just collapse right here. She's been at my side for 27 years. And I've really struggled to find the right words to acknowledge what she has meant to me and what she has meant to the position of the city administrator. In addition to being a terribly efficient person, she's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I'm going to miss her terribly. And I talk in different situations to different groups, and I always make reference to Audrey. I guess by now everybody knows who Audrey Peterson is, but she's been my right hand, my confidant, and she's never lost confidence in me. She's someone that I would trust with my life, and I will miss her terribly. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Mayor, to say a few words, and I wish you all well.
Thank you very much, Mick, for coming. Thank you, Mick, for all you've done for the city and for me personally, and I think it was very special that you spoke from your heart. Thank you very much again. With that, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That motion carries.